Hey, thanks for stopping in. I recently came across this quote from a book I had read a while back that kind of struck me that I'd like to share with you today. And it came from the book The Mindful Athlete by George Mumford. And George Mumford, he was part of a couple different coaching staffs. He coached with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, and kind of helped them get to the championship mindset, and help them develop the mindset to win a championship and win multiple championships in some cases. And the quote that I'm talking about, it says, "What you habitually think largely determines what you will ultimately become." And so that's the quote that I'd like to share with you today. And maybe we can decipher it a little bit and find out what it means and see how we can use that quote to help better our lives. Hey, Mark Johnson here, founder and creative director of habitually Studios, back again with another vlog. If you end up liking this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, please subscribe. And if you end up having a comment or a question or anything that you'd like to share, definitely leave that with me in the comment box below. I love starting a conversation or even a back and forth to see, how we can better our lives and, use this video right now to do that. And lastly, if you don't want to ever miss any of my upcoming videos, make sure to ring that bell. So let's get back into it. So I personally believe that our thoughts and our words have power, especially when we put intention behind it, right? So when I speak on this book of The Mindful Athlete, it goes a lot deeper into that kind of thing. So if that's something that you're interested in too, I definitely recommend that book. And being that I've also did a review on that book, I will leave a link to that review in the description box below, or you can just click here. So in this piece today, I would like to focus on that quote. And that quote again is, "What you habitually think largely determines what you will ultimately become." And to decipher that quote, I want to use the rice experiment. If you're not familiar with the rice experiment, just follow this link here and it'll show you a video to give you some more information. But if I had to explain it, I'll explain it like this. It's simply an experiment where you cook up some rice. You have three separate containers with lids. And then you use that rice and put it evenly in each container. You're going to put the top on that container, each of those containers, and then you're going to label the three containers. One container you're going to label it "I love you." One container you're going to label it "I hate you." And the third container you won't label it at all. And in a span over a month or say, you're going to say each day to each of the containers, well, for the first container, the one that says "I love you," you're going to say "I love you" to it. You're going to say "I love you," give it positive words, and just kind of show that you love that container. With the container that you say "I hate you" on it, you're going to say you hate it. You're going to give it ill will. You're going to say negative things to it. With a container with no label on it, you're just going to ignore it. You're not going to say anything to it. And then in a span over about a month, like I said, what you're going to start to see is that the container that you say "I love you" to it and give it positive words and praise, it's going to still probably look about the same when you started. There's not going to be any mold or anything in it. The container that you say "you hate you" to it and give it negative words and ill will, you'll start to see it's going to be black or a lot moldy, or even in a sense just much different than the "I love you" container. With the container that you didn't have no label on it and you said nothing to it and you just ignored it, it really shouldn't have any change. But maybe, if anything, it may have a little bit of mold. And so that's what the rice experiment is about. The original experiment came from Dr. Masaru Emoto. And in his experiment, he just used water. And what he's found is that in the example with the rice, when he looked at it through a microscope and he froze the water, he saw that the crystals were beautiful, which kind of really spectacular looking. The "I hate you" container, the crystals, they were ugly. They were just kind of really malformed. It just didn't have really good shape. And in the container that had no label on it, the water in that container was pretty much no change. It just looked like as it started. And so what does all this mean? Well, to me, it's saying that, again, or it's reinforcing the idea that words have power. And so that, going back to the quote that we were talking about, and the quote says, what does the quote state? It says, what you habitually think or even say largely determines what you will ultimately become. So my point is this: if you get to a point where you're believing that the words and your thoughts have power to affect the reality that you live in, it is important that we subdue the negative thoughts and self-talk that we may have. I know some people, call themselves idiots, or they, say that no one will love them, or they're not worth it, they don't deserve it. And I know sometimes that can be a self-deprecating thing, and that can be humorous and things like that. But when it becomes a situation where you're habitually doing that over and over and over again, you're going to start to see that in your life. You know what I'm saying? That's going to actually reflect in your life, like the quote says. So it's a benefit to you to kind of be aware of that, and then take those negative thoughts, those negative self-talk that you may be having, and flipping it and making it something positive, turning the negative thoughts you may have into a positive thought, turning that negative self-talk that you're having and making it something positive that you can actually see as you say it and start to believe it become reality into your life. So hopefully this has been helpful to you in some way. I know it has for me, because I know there was a time where I was having those negative thoughts, that really bad self-talk, and I just didn't know where it was coming from. And so rather than just kind of debating about it, I just kind of said, I'm just not going to have it anymore. And so when I would think a thought, I would think another positive thought right behind it. If I'd say something negative, I'd flip it and say something positive right after it. At a certain point, I was able to fill that space with positive thoughts and positive talk. And so I feel a lot better. I feel a lot in a much better space. And it was really just kind of in the sense of just by changing my negative thoughts to a positive thoughts, because I feel words do have power. So again, if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, definitely subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions that came up from this video, definitely leave me a comment in the comment box below. And then lastly, if you want to not miss any of my upcoming videos, definitely ring that bell. So, like we always do at this time, have a blessed day. See you on the flip side. Let's go.